ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैर्तुष्टुवांसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति नः इन्द्रो वृद्रश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नः तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्ददातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः देवं नारायणं नत्वा सर्वदोषविवर्जितं परिपूर्णं गुरुंश्चान् गीतार्थं वक्ष्यामि लेशतः. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to folks who have joined for our Gita Chinthana program, which we do every month. And this week, this session is Chapter 4, Part C. This is being led by GV Srinivasan G from the US. So, over to you, GV, and I made you co-host, so you can share your slides now.
Okay, thank you, Madhusudan ji. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, great. So let me share my screen first. Okay. You can see my screen also, all right?
Yeah, GV.
Okay. Great. Okay, so we will get started. So thanks, Madhusudan ji. So today we are in the third session of the fourth chapter in Gita, Jnana Yoga. So we had seen in the first two various contributors contributed to it, including Sri Madhusudan ji, Sri Venkatesh ji, Prakash ji, and then Srimati Neeta ji. So we are now to the final stretch, home stretch today. So I will give a brief recap of the first two sessions so that people are oriented towards that. I will try to do it in a very time efficient fashion because there's quite a bit to cover, even in terms of summary. And then Sri Suresh ji will take us through the last part of the few slokas. That is focusing on the importance and greatness of jnana, which the chapter finishes. And then we have a guest lecture, Srimati Meera Tadipatri ji. So so we are kind of privileged to have her. So she will give her perspectives on chapter 4, right? What are our perspectives, the takeaway message, and all those things. So it will be good to hear from a guest who is outside of this forum, and then get her perspectives on that one. So with that concludes this chapter. And then Srimati Neeta ji will be coordinating the chapter 5. And then she will give an introduction as to how she is going to do it at the very end. So that is the agenda for today. So with that, we get started with the very quick recap. So the chapter 4 starts with Krishna telling Arjuna that he imparted this yoga or this path to Vivaswan. From Vivaswan onwards, it's been passed on lineage to lineage, and over time, so it has eroded. And then here Krishna is saying, I am going to kind of tell you about what was kind of lost over the time. So the purpose of Krishna bringing about all the things is he wants to make sure to Arjuna that even though Arjuna is in a vulnerable position, in a battle, confused, and then whatnot, and then when asking Krishna, what will bring me Shreyas? So Krishna wanted to tell him that, hey, you're listening to the Shastra itself is what will bring you to Shreyas. I'm not going to kind of wing it and then tell you whatever that suits me or whatever. So I'm going to ask you to practice whatever has been prescribed in the Shastra and that has been practiced by your predecessors. So that is what will bring you Shreyas. So he wanted to kind of say that one. That was the context in which why Krishna started saying that. But when doing that, of course, Arjuna is kind of, natural question comes to him because Arjuna in Mahabharata, Krishna in Mahabharata was born only like a few days before Arjuna. So he was saying that, hey, we were almost born together. How come that you are claiming that you were there even in the beginning and then you taught all these people? How am I to know all of this? And then, of course, Arjuna's question was much deeper than that. It was kind of already kind of in his mind, because even over chapter 2 and 3, so Krishna had claimed some outstanding qualities that are not exhibited by any other human being. We call it a Vijati Guna, right? And then, so he's already taking, Asita Matparaha. So you fixed in your mind in me. And then he says that if I don't do any work, the world will collapse. Usiteyu ime lokaha. Right? About all of these things. These are only possible by some great personalities, not by anybody else. So Arjuna's question to Krishna is to kind of stop him at this time and then ask him that, how is it possible that you did all of these things? How am I to know you? So that is why Arjuna starts. And then so now Krishna has to come out and then tell him about himself. So this was very beautifully done by, say, Madhusudanji. I'm just going to do a quick recap. So yes, and then so Krishna starts telling how he's different now. So he's saying that, hey, Arjuna, I have known all my prior avatars. We don't call it birth. We'll call it for Bhagavanta. We call it as avatar. I had known all my prior births, and then what I did and all those things. And then I have also known your prior births, and then what you did and everything. You don't know, but then I know all of that one. So he's basically saying that I am Sarvajna. So to kind of distinguish between what is the difference between him, the persona is the kind of Godhead, and then like under a soul, like Arjuna, right? And then also he also said that his avatara, or just whatever that is that people can comprehend or kind of see, is not in a sense the same as like any other like jivas within a body that took birth. So he is basically revealing his form using the Maya or the Durga Devi as a kind of prakrita, so as a prakriti to kind of manifest his own form. So this is not like a general kind of birth and death like what the other humans go through, but then his is kind of different. So his qualities are different. Even this birth or the avatar coming into being and then going out of it, they're all, he's done differently than others. So, and then he had a purpose to come to why he had to do all of that thing. He used to kind of establish what is dharma. This is the time to do it. So, yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, all these things, these slokas that Madhusudan covered. So because of this purpose, he had come and do it. So then the kind of question comes, okay, so what is the need? Okay, he's going to kind of tell his message and everything, but then what is the need for people like Arjuna or us to kind of know about him, about his janma and then karma and then all those things? So that is because Krishna says, by knowing his janma and karma, not only that, by knowing his other qualities, as tattvataha, here tattvataha means as per one's capacity, one should try to know about God's qualities and then and his works. So he as more comprehensively, because by knowing this only, punarjanma navidyate. That means punarjanma neti mameti sorjana. So there will be no more birth and death, and then they will reach him. Puta madbhava magataha. Because of that, one has to know this one. Only by knowing that we can get liberation. So hence there is a need to know about his form, about his guna, and then all those things. So that is why he is now laying it out. Okay, but then we see all kinds of people with the different intent, with the different qualities, with different yearnings, and all of that and everything. Not everybody is same. That is what we see. So then a natural question would be, hey, what happens to those people? Some people show some not of shraddha, they want to know you. Okay, great. So then you're saying that, okay, I will tell them that. But how about other people? Like they may not come to you, but then they go to somewhere else or something else. How about those people? So then again Krishna says that, hey, even for them, like I only can give whatever they want and everything. And then in a way that proportionate to how they approach me. So samtataiva bhajamaham, right? So it is basically yatamam prapatyante samtataiva bhajamaham. Whatever, however they approach me, however they need, and then it's coming from me. Okay, so that is what he is saying. And then some people want some very small things, easy things to get, another one. But then some people want a more everlasting thing. Venkatesh ji took us through these things, and then he gave an example of at that time like a waiter waiting on the table, and then who is kind of looking for tips basically, so that his focus is to get something temporary, quick, and then but it doesn't last long. Okay, so he works for that one. But somebody else who wants a promotion, wants to become a manager, right? And on the other ones, so they do put in a lot more effort and then more lasting efforts and everything, and they get a very lasting results. So all of this Krishna kind of provides to them as per their effort and as per their yogita. Okay, so it what depends on that. Then he also took us to this wonderful graphics. So here in the middle, where we are showing like everything that what is called BKVS, those are the kind of people like us who are Mukti Yogya. These are the Manushottamas, right? They are eligible for Mukti. All the people, ones in the blue, in the left, they're all Devatas. They're also Mukti Yogyas, but then they are Devatas. So they have a separate things that kind of governs them and everything. So Mukti is assured for all of these people. The people to the right of that one are not eligible for Mukti in a sense where it is where they will be having Sukha all the time. They will be Nitya Samsaris, being that for rest of the time after the last birth and death, they will be kind of in an eternal cycle of dukkha and then dukkha and happiness. And then there are ones that are in the kind of black or like a Samo Yogyas, Jivas. They are by nature they are like that, and then wherein they are kind of after their last janma, it will be always in eternal hell or eternal andhatamas. So there will be an eternal darkness about ignorance. They will be covered with that one, all that one. So even though that the Swarupa is not made by Krishna or whatever, but the governance of all of this about what karma will be suited to them and all those things is all done by him. And it is done by the yogita of the jiva. He is only a facilitator with no intention or with kind of no fruits or with nothing come to him. So that is how Krishna manages all of this. And even within this Mukti Yogya Jivas, that is among the Manushottamas, the bottom right chart shows they have various proportions of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, Guna in them. They are all eligible for Mukti Yogyas, but then depending on the proportions, they are called Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaisya, and Sudra, and all those things. They are Mukti Yogyas, and then their functions will be appropriately different as per the ratios of some of the trigunas in them. Okay, so because of that, their work will be different, their approach will be different, and then Krishna will take care of them in the appropriate way. So that is what the Chaturvarnyam sloka means. So since Krishna does this in an impassionate fashion, with a non-discriminate fashion, so any effect associated with him doesn't bind him, right? Because he's doing it in a selfless fashion. And then for the goodness of the Mukti Yoga Jivas, it is to kind of he is enabling their salvation. So there is nothing to him. So because of that, Name karma parespraha. So the karmas don't bind him. So he's also saying that, hey, that is how others also have to kind of strive for. Basically, like you have to do this selfless acts. Because of that, it is not binding action. So he's now telling people to kind of engage in those kind of activities where they are doing nishkama karma, and that is how they can get out of this cycle of birth and death and all those things. So he is saying that is what I taught your ancestors, and that is what they did. That's why Krishna is now calling Arjuna to action. Purvaihi purvataram kritam. So you should also act like how your ancestors did. So you also should do that. So that is the message to Krishna. So with that, then the kind of next one is, then the question comes. So when Krishna says, Arjuna, okay, do action, then he also needs to kind of tell Arjuna about what is this karma swarupa? That is, what is karma, what is akarma, and what is vikarma? That is, karma is the one that is you have to do. Akarma is the one that you should not be doing, or vikarma is also like that and everything. So those things one needs to know then. What is then this akarma and then vikarma, and also like karma and all those things. By knowing that, one has to kind of design their acts appropriately so that they can kind of get out of this one. So that is what Krishna is saying, that even this one, gahana karmano gatihi. So he's saying that those things could be different, because even this, what is all these things, even kaviyo api atra mohitaha, even the learned ones sometimes don't get it right, and then they get confused. Hence, I will tell you the swarupa of this karma. So that is what Krishna is kind of over several slokas. He's kind of doing that one. So the nishkama aspect was already covered in prior chapters and everything. So one of the new things that Krishna again brings it up in here in a very kind of coded language is karmanya akarmaya pashyat, akarmani cha karmaya pashyat. So he's saying that it is a very, very kind of cryptic way how to do this. But then there is an important message behind all those things. So when say karmani akarmaya pashyat, so when doing an action, there apparently seems to be an inaction is also is seen, but it's not inaction. Karma means it is for the akshara. It is for the Bhagavanta himself. So he is also known as Bhagavanta. So his karma. That means when doing this karma, so he is the one who is standing behind it and actually doing it, right? The other ones. So that is even during that one. Because when the jiva is not doing any karma, like in deep sleep, where there is not even the associated relationship exists, but there is still like bodily function is going on, vasochara is going on, digestion is kind of going on, all those things. Who is doing all that? So it is the Lord who is kind of residing in our body as a bimba. So it is a bimba is the actual prime doer. The kind of pratibimba actor doesn't have a kriya. Acharya says that pratibimba sa nahi kriya. But in the sense that it is not acting independently. As long as the bimba acts, the pratibimba can act. So it is doing it in a dependent fashion. So he wants to bring that aspect of it when he's talking about this karma swarupa. There is one other, so there's a very important aspect associated with kind of karma. So see, he actually, I'm skipping over many other things. These are covered by Sheshu Prakash ji in his one. So he did a very good job covering everything, but due to time factor, I'm not covering all of it. I'm just giving only the important ones. So Krishna at that time, later on, he concludes what is the karma swarupa in kind of one sloka. There are basically three pillars to it. Rata sangasya muktasya. So meaning this is the nishkama part of it. Basically relinquishing the desires on the fruits of the associated actions. The actions always produce fruit. Okay, that is asvatantrena bhavati. So that is, we cannot say we need only this kind of an fruit or an effect. It is uncontrollable. Only the God knows, right? So the effect obviously manifests, but then we don't have any control of it. So what he's saying is, hey, don't even have an attachment towards the effect what you want. That is what it is. Gatahangasya muktasya means relinquishing the desires on what kind of fruits that you want. So have that muktasya, have that one cut. And then jnana avasthita chetataha, this is what covers kind of what we saw in previously. is to go that abhimana tyaga. That means I am doing it. It is my action and all of that. It is the abhimana, is that sacrifice of that abhimana tyaga has to be done. And then knowing that any karma, we need the bimba to do the karma. Even before karma, even for jnana, ichcha, that is behind to performing this karmas, are induced by him or by the kind of bimba, right? So it is, we have to know that it is due to the prime mover is the bimba. So that is jnana vasthita chetataha. And then the third aspect is yajnaya acharata. So we do all that karma as a Bhagavad Aradhana to please him as the Supreme Lord. So that is the three aspects of the karma, and then that forms the very definition of the karma swarupa, nishkama karma swarupa. So these are the three aspects of it, and then Krishna kind of concludes the so-called karma yoga with that verse. So Sri Prakashji took us through all of that, and then there is a transition between karma swarupa and then various aspects of karma. But then this karma swarupa forms the basis or the anusandhana behind any karma that one has to do. Anusandhana means it is the intent, or with this understanding one has to do everything. What is that? That is conveyed in this kind of shloka. Brahmarpanam brahmahavihi brahmagnau brahmanahutam brahmaiva tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. So here, even though it is said that this article is used in yajna, this havis is Brahma, and then all the substances and everything like the ghee and all those things is also Brahma, and then it is done by the person, and then the yajna itself is Brahma, and then the meditation and everything. So it says that everything is Brahman. So it kind of implies that there seems to be that nothing else exists other than Brahman. So there seems to be like a concept of a unification in this one. But then a careful inquiry kind of tells another story. So here it says that even though in the Acharya in his Gita Bhashya says that even though it seems to imply that everything here is Brahman, but then one has to kind of interpret it as everything is under his control. Recall the similar analogy that we saw in Tattvamasi in Chandogya Upanishad. Sri Madhusudanji again has some wonderful videos on that one. Please in that one. So there we see that Saptasu Pratama, meaning even though it is told in the Pratama Vibhakti, but all other Vibhaktis are contained in that one. So even though it is told as Tatvamasi, but actually it is Tasya Tvamasi, Tasmin Tvamasi, Tasyaya Tvamasi, everything else is also included in that one. And one has to be interpreted according to that one. So there are these 9 examples that was also given in that one. And if you look at the examples, it will fall within in that category. So we had to apply a similar type of analogy and logic in kind of here too. And then saying that, okay, is not everything is Brahman, everything is under the Brahman's control is what would be right. Because right in Tatparya also, Acharya points it out. Not everything is in Prathama Vibhakti. Brahmanahutam is in Tritiya Vibhakti. Right? And then Samadhina Karma is again Tritiya Vibhakti. So Tritiya Vibhakti only implies difference. It's not implies unification at that time. So very subtly Krishna kind of pointed out those things, and then Acharya was able to point it out and then show it to us that one, that using that one, this is how we have to interpret the rest of the shlokas. And then Srimati Neetaji then took us through, okay, with this understanding and all those things, how one actually, what are the various yajnas and then kind of karmas. So here you see that now we are using the word interchangeably between karma and then yajna, because we said all the karmas have to be done for yajna. Right? Yajna means it is Paramatma's name. As you can see that in the Isavasha Upanishad, it is Yajnam ka Paramatma vasa devata, or who the kind of Manu was praying actually to save him, his own grandson actually. So that is yajna. So it is Yajnam ka Paramatma. So it is any karma done for the sake of Paramatma is called yajna. Okay, so we are saying that we are using that terms interchangeably. So with that one, then even worshipping, and then even like a sense controls, and all of those things are also becomes yajnas in that way. And so she listed all those types of karmas in this one. There are actually totally 10 of them over two slokas. Dravya yajna, tapo yajna, yoga yajna, tatapare, vajya jnana yajnasya, yataya samsita vrataha. And then, so again, the charity, penance, yoga, ashtanga yogas, and then study of scripture, swadhyaya, and then jnana yajna, which is teaching others. And all of that thing has done towards, as for yajnaya acharata, they all become yajnas. And then these are all the various activities one can do. And then how one was done, it was shown in the previous. There are some more, there's even the pranayama, done that one. And even like, just like in the previous one, we saw sense controls, but then here it comes. But then food is separately called out because it is very difficult to control. Most difficult one control is rasavartyam rasavapyasva, param drishtva nivartate. That is the last one to go. So the food is kind of also taken in here. Actually, the prana and then food are kind of very, very subtle forms. They kind of influence our mind. But then those are also, without controlling the pranayama, without controlling your prana, breath, and your food, so jnana is not possible. So that is very essential for these things. So this is also has to be controlled, and then these also have to be done as an yajna. So then Nitaji concluded her part as all these yajnas and everything. Basically, all the yajnas culminate in kind of knowledge. So this is basically jnane parisamapyate. So nishkama karma done without any attachment to the fruit of the action, and knowing that it is the Paramatma who is the prime mover and doing all of it through us. And then all these actions are offered to him. So that is what she meant by Brahmano Mukhe. So one has to, she gave an example of you fill the application and all those things and finally hit the submit button or the enter button, right? So that is what Brahmano Mukhe means. Is equally important about performing is also the samarpana at the very end. By doing Krishna Arpana, knowing that, hey Krishna, you did all this work through me, and then Arpana back to him. So by this way, we can get rid of the birth cycles. And at the end, with the as a fruit of all this nishkama karma is the jnana itself. So that is why she says, the Krishna says, jnane parisamapyate. So all this ends in jnana. But it is the jnana that is absolutely needed for paroksha jnana, and from then mukti onwards and everything. So without jnana, no paroksha jnana, no mukti. So jnana is an absolute essential. Samevam vidwan amriteha bhavati nanyah panta ayanaya vidyate. Purusha Suktam. So we see that, look at the words there, right? Samevam vidwan. So you have to know only like this. And then he says that there is no other way without that. So without knowing, we are not going to go anywhere. So it is, the Vedas are very emphatic about that. So such is the power of jnana. And then but the karma, all this, these things is an enabler to get that knowledge, and what does jnana does and why it is important and all of that. So Sureshji will now take us through that part of the Gita on the essentials and aspects of jnana. So Sureshji, over to you. So let me close my presentation and then give you the rights. Okay, go ahead, Sureshji.
Thank you. Can you see the slides, please? And can you hear me well?
Yes.
Manojavam marutatulyavegam jitendriyam buddhimatam varishtam vatatmajam vanarayuta mukyam sriramadutam sharanam prapadye. Hari Om. Good evening, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this last session on Chapter 4. And thank you, GVG, for wonderfully summarizing what's been discussed thus far, which sets up the stage for these final 10 shlokas. So we started contemplating about this in the last session, but we'll just briefly recap the first shloka that we had done last time. and take it further towards the conclusion of this very important segment in the discussion between Arjuna and Krishna, wherein Krishna is unequivocally telling us about the supremacy of jnana and a concept that is, I guess, universally accepted by all schools of thoughts. And in these 10 shlokas, I find them very interesting in that this is perhaps the best guide, a concise guide that one could have ever given, wherein Krishna actually tells us what this knowledge, what is jnana is all about, tells us what it does for us, also tells us what are the obstructions in its path and how to overcome it. Perhaps one couldn't have asked for a better guide to help us understand and go through the process of getting some information about how we inculcate and imbibe the concepts discussed in this chapter. Before we dwell deeper into the shlokas per se, somehow in the discussion, we had drifted into a discussion about knowing and doing, karma yoga versus jnana yoga. So we just thought that we'll put it up into a 2x2 and see where it takes us. If I could just pull up the pointer one sec. Yeah. So if you look at this 2x2 in the bottom left quadrant here of not doing and not knowing, perhaps this quadrant is ruled out. It's impossible to be not doing. Krishna himself says that, Nahi kasyat kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma. It's impossible. You are always doing something, and come on, you know. Not knowing is also not something that is conceivable. So if we leave out this quadrant, where I guess most of us, we find ourselves is doing, but perhaps not knowing enough. And that's a quadrant which I've called out as dangerous, in the sense that we many a times resolve to the fact that at least we are doing. We may not know what it means, and we're doing it this way because it's always been done that way. So there's enough indications here, enough warnings which Krishna tells us about being stuck in this quadrant. Maybe that's a good place to start. But if one finds oneself stuck in this quadrant, as we just saw, ye yatha mam prapadyante, and if I don't even know what to ask for or what not to ask for, I'll get whatever it is that I ask for. And in fact, severe criticism of such being stuck in such a quadrant is what we see in saying the only thing that we perhaps get by doing yajna without knowing what we are doing is get chronic obstructive pulmonary disease because of smoke inhalation. So one cannot afford to get stuck in this quadrant, and therefore the logical movement is to cross the knowledge threshold to find ourselves in this quadrant of knowing and doing. And this is what Krishna tells us at the end of chapter 2 as well, so that's the direction in which we need to head ourselves and hopefully get there. And what about this quadrant of knowing and not doing? There's only one exception, Krishna says, while we had ruled out the quadrant beneath, is that when one finds oneself in the state of asampratnya, samadhi, where one is constantly having the vision of the Lord and is lost in the bliss of the Lord himself, well, at that point of time, perhaps there are no obligations to be doing anything, but except for that, not doing is not an option. So we have started last time with this 2x2. Yes, knowing and doing is necessary, but what is it that we should know and what is it that we should be doing were the logical questions that came out. And Yajnavalkya beautifully tells us, and we keep reminding ourselves of this every now and then, is Atma Varya Drashtavyaha Shrotravyo Mantavyo Nitidhyasitoyam. So Atma, we know in its Paramamukhya Vritti is Vishnu himself. Well, doing to know and knowing to do, this logical learn, do, learn loop is what one gets into. But it's extremely important to know what one is doing and therefore doing what one knows. It's not that people like Ravana did not do. They did severe penance. But whatever they did took them away from the Lord. They didn't take them towards the Lord. And therefore, Krishna gives us a very simple methodology is tasmat shastram pramanante karya karya vyavastito jnatva shastra vidhanoktam karma kartru viharhasi. So do as has been prescribed, and that's the right way for us to move forward. So we talked about some of these in the last time, so I'm just brushing through that. And a few other concepts which I felt were important for us to keep in mind as we conclude, as Krishna concludes the discussion about the relevance and importance of jnana, is Rupam Rupam Pratipu Rupam, which tells us about the dependent reality. We have often talked about Dvasvaparna, which tells us about our own relationship with our Antaryamin, the Panchabheda, and therefore putting all of these together such that we understand our own position in this universe. And without a proper understanding of where we stand, moving forward isn't easy. And most importantly, again, is something that we do keep revising ourselves. Sapranam srujata, pranam chadram kham, vayur jyotirapaha, pruthivyam indriyam manaha, annam mannad viryam tapo mantraha, karma loka loke shuchanamacha. So the 15 boundary conditions which one will have to overcome in our progress towards number 18. And these will come up in some of the discussions of the shlokas that follow. So we'll not repeat them here, but I just thought it's important to keep these constructs in mind as we go to discuss the some of the last 10 shlokas of this chapter in the subsequent slides. So with that, we move on into this the 33rd. So into the discussion that's leading up till now, when Krishna said, Sarve pete yajnavidaha yajna kshapita kalmashaha. So there seemed to be an indication to say that, there's so many different yajnas that were so nicely summarized till now. Just do any one of them and you will all end up with where you need to be. But just to make sure that we don't have such misconceptions, Krishna very clearly tells us about the relative importance of. So he basically classifies yajnas into two concepts here. One is the Dravyamaya yajna and one is the Jnanamaya yajna, and declares the supremacy of Jnanamaya yajna over Dravyamaya yajna. So it's a couple of words that Krishna uses here, which we did spend some time. Sarvam and Akhilam are used. Is that a Punarakti here? No, very clearly no. Sarva is perhaps all, and Akhila perhaps means each in its own entirety. So the message there is very simple, that whatever we do, we need to do all that needs to be done. We need to do our duties the way it's been prescribed and the way we have to do it. And it's not just the matter of doing it. We will have to do each one of them in their own entirety, such that this karma will lead us to Chitta Shuddhi, and that will lead us to Dvandva Muktaha. So Krishna again is using the word Parisamapyate here. So all karmas will end. It's not just end in the sense that an end of a sentence. It is to meaning to say that everything that we do will serve the very purpose for which it's been done. The objective will be fulfilled, and it will culminate with the accumulation of further gain of knowledge. We had spent a couple of minutes in contemplating about the adjectives Krishna uses for Arjuna here as well. He uses two of them, Parantapa and Partha. So Parantapa, we saw it meant para is the greatness of Paramatma, and tapa is contemplate. Arjuna, you're going to be fighting a war. I mean, it's for certain you're going to be fighting. But there is a way in which even this act of war can be converted into a jnana yajna. You are Parantapa, you can do it, is what Krishna seems to be telling Arjuna here. Further, para also means internal enemies or external enemies for that matter. Arjuna, you have won over both the internal and external enemies. And he also calls him Partha. Partha has got enough meanings. So the one who's imbibed the the meaning, the one who is the preserver of the Vedas is a meaning of Partha, and that's what Krishna is telling. So in brief, in this shloka, Krishna is telling us that, this jnana, knowing, doing, these are not two different, distinct aspects. They're two aspects of the two sides of the same coin. Each one fulfills the other. If we just keep doing without knowing, it's like programming Alexa to be reciting Vishnu Sahasranama every morning. But Alexa is going to remain Alexa. It's not going to evolve itself. So therefore, just doing is going to be useless. So it's important to know, do, and know more, and do more. And then that's what, and even in an act like war, it needs to be done, is what Krishna seems to be telling Arjuna, is what we had discussed in the previous session. So then we move further on. The question comes, okay, agreed. Knowledge, knowing is important. It's supreme. There's no question about it. But how does one acquire this knowledge? And the question also comes, and Krishna himself is telling Arjuna, so what is this advice? What is he trying to say in this shloka, where he says, Tadviddif pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas. So Krishna defines whom this is applicable for. In other words, what are the qualities that a pupil should have? So the three things that come up: pranipata, pariprashna, and seva. So let's just remember that it is the same Arjuna who was in fact telling Krishna way back in chapter 1, saying that Aho bata mahat papam. No, Krishna, what kind of a sin we would have been doing had I just simply said yes to continue to fight the war. I'm not going to be fighting this war because it's going to be sinful. So from telling Krishna that, Arjuna transforms himself and says, Shishyaste ham shadi mam pram prapadya. I surrender myself to you. So pranipata is what we're seeing here, wherein one does total surrender and keep their mind and open up one's mind to be able to absorb knowledge. And it's not just blind faith here. It's not just blindly following something that's being told, because the very next quality talks about pariprashna. It is this persistent, repeated questioning, and this needs to be done in the bhava of seva or bhakti. And so these three become the important pillars, the necessary qualities for someone who needs to acquire this knowledge. So, but to just address the question as to whom is this advice for, it's a conversation between Arjuna and Krishna, and obviously the advice is for Arjuna. But we know that Arjuna is Swayam Indra Sambhuta. He is a Aparoksha Jnani. So it's not that Arjuna needs teaching. So he perhaps needs reminding, but most certainly he doesn't need teaching. So I did come across this concept of Adhikari Purusha, which I thought was very relevant here. So what is the simple question if one asks, which is easier? Give up everything, go to a jungle, sit and meditate upon God, or be in the middle of a war field where you are fighting and at the same time be able to contemplate and meditate upon God. So Arjuna has been chosen for the latter, which is a near impossible task because of the special characteristics that Arjuna possesses, being an Aparoksha Jnani himself. It's not that Arjuna was not fit for knowledge. Anyway, with that in mind, so the way the shloka ends with saying Upadekshanti te jnanam. I mean, you will be taught what needs to be taught. Krishna is himself teaching Arjuna here. So what Krishna perhaps is telling Arjuna at this point of time is that, you know what, the awareness of Paramatma, that knowledge is what you will again be taught. I am teaching you this now. You will again be taught in the future. You will be taught by Bhishmacharya. You will be taught by Badrayana himself. And having said that, he tells us also as to where is it that we need to get this knowledge from. So he uses two words there, Jnani and Tattvadarshinaha. So Jnani is someone, who has acquired this knowledge. And Tattvadarshini Darshana is someone who has experienced this knowledge. First, we need to acquire the knowledge. And then once someone experiences this knowledge, then they become eligible to be a teacher. And if one does acquire knowledge from such a teacher, and that's the knowledge that Krishna is talking about, which is supreme, which is ever liberating. So we have said, Krishna has told us how do we get this, and then what happens once we get this knowledge. Yajnatvana punarmoham evam yasyasi pandava ena bhutanya sheshena drakchasyat manyathomai. So what happens once we get this knowledge? So that's why here Krishna is calling Arjuna Pandava, and Pandava is something bright, clean. So basically, this knowledge is cleansing. This knowledge purifies everything. So, and as we just said, Arjuna himself later on says, Smritir Labdva. It's not that something new knowledge. It is the knowledge that resides within oneself, which one need to be aware of. And that's what Krishna is talking about. So what happens then? There are two things that Krishna says. Drakchasyat manyathomai. You will see in me what? What we see is aseshena bhutani. You will see every single sentient form of life within me. Bhuta, as we have seen referred to in Vishnu Sahasranama as well, is a general reference to sentient life forms. So Krishna is saying that once you acquire this knowledge, in me, you will be able to see without any exception, aseshena, every sentient form of life. So basically telling us about two important qualities of Brahman himself. One is that you will see all jivas in me as they are supported by me. Again in chapter 13, where again Krishna tells us, Yada bhuta pruthak bhava ekas, each unique jiva form is one which, comes together here. It's not that you are seeing one coalesced bundled mass of energy or life. You are seeing each individual component in me, because each one of them is supported by me. And also the other aspect of Brahman, which is Sarva Vyapitva, which is that in each one of these individual aspects, you will see me, because I am the Antaryamin of everything. So Krishna has now very clearly told us what is this knowledge into which there is a resolution of all conflicts, which we obtain by people who have experienced this knowledge. And once we obtain that knowledge, we are having this vision of the Lord about his Antaryamin and Sarvagatatva. So what does this do? Once we have this stage, what happens to us? Is the next question which Krishna tackles with these beautiful examples. Two of them, apichedasi papebhyah sarvebhyah papakrittamaha sarvam jnanaplavenaiva vrujinam santirashyasi. So what happens then is that is Arjuna, you are a sattvic jiva. But let us, for the sake of argument, let's just, for the sake of contemplation, say that even if you are papakrittamaha, you are the world champion of all the papis, even in that state, if you are able to get hold of this boat of jnana, this float of jnana, then that float will make sure that you cross this sea, or such that you just surf over it. Vrujinam, leave behind leave behind dukkha, which everyone of us wants to get rid of. and make sure that we cross this ocean with ease once and for all. And that is what this jnana is going to do us. It's going to help us leave behind all the dukkha and help us surf through this ocean of karma bandha and take us to the other part, the abode of Lord. The other example that Krishna tells us is Yathaidamsi Samidhognir. One is wherein the Vrujinam is left behind. And here he's talking about all of this just being burnt and reduced to ashes. It simply disappears. So that is what this Jnanagni is going to do. It's going to burn all the burden of the karmas. In fact, we do get references to say that the weight of the karma that we are carrying across many births is so heavy that it is impossible for us to even get rid of that weight from our own shoulders. So we are getting, every janma, we're getting compressed more and more because the weight of this karma is exponentially increasing. And here is the solution. Once we get this jnana, not only does it help us offload the weight of this karma, it in fact burns and reduces all the karma. So the question also comes up is sarva karmani. Is it everything? So I found this interest. I mean, a good way to understand is that there are three classifications of karma. One is jnana purva karma, one is jnanottara karma, and there is this concept of prarabdha karma. Perhaps the jnanottara karma, whatever karma that we will accumulate after having attained this state of knowledge, does not stick us. Those karmas don't bind us. Whatever jnana we had accumulated before reaching this state of jnana, this state is burnt, it's reduced. It's like all the farm loans are excused. There's no further karma kara, that the tax we need to give to Bhagavanta. He is written off all the taxes that are due from us. But we will have to experience the prarabdha, the ones that are already in motion, and we'll have to make sure that we get through them. Then what happens is, and this is what jnana is going to do us. And therefore, Krishna says, is it even possible to contemplate, think of anything that is, comparable to this? Forget even being superior to this knowledge. So, nahi jnanena sadrusham, there's nothing even comparable to this. Pavitramiha vidyate tatsvayam yoga samsiddha kalenatmani vindati. So this knowledge, this knowledge which is right within yourself, swayamatmani. So once we get this knowledge, that will help detachment from material possessions. One that we have talked to about jnana agni or jnana plave. So this will take us in the path of moksha sadhana. And when is this going to happen? Krishna says kalena. Just reminds us, guys, there is a different time scale. Your time scale is different. My time scale is different. At the right time, this will take you to the right destination. Bahunam janmanamante. I mean, maybe we'll have to still go through multiple life cycles of birth and death. But there will be a time, at the right time, in my time scale, you will get there. And till then, he says, yoga samsiddha. So he says, so one is able to see Bhagavanta in Gita. That is when one has attained yoga siddhi. Then this image is momentary. Once this image becomes stable, once we get some siddhi, then like Shabri, we need to wait such that at the right time, we reach the right destination. So in the next few shlokas, then Krishna begins to summarize and conclude the discussion on jnana. And here he says, Shraddhavan labate jnanam tatparas sanyatendriyaha jnanam labdva param shantim Achirenadi gacchati. If one felt kalena is something depressing, here is something Krishna is saying, Achirenadi, something, well, there is something that you get even immediately as soon as you get to this step as well. But to get there, the first condition Krishna puts is Shraddhavan labate jnanam. Shraddha becomes an extremely important concept. So, as we had seen, Athato Brahmajit, if we want to contemplate about God, if we want to contemplate about Brahman, the first condition perhaps is to at least admit the possibility of existence of God. If one refuses to even accept or admit the possibility of existence of God, then perhaps one is like Duryodhana, who says, I don't believe in anything. I don't trust anybody. I don't believe anything. So if that's the case, there's no point. There's no Brahma Jidnyasa at this point of time. But for one who wants to pursue this path, the first and foremost is to admit the possibility of existence. Then, as we just saw earlier, go through each one of the barriers that we have around ourselves, overcome, understand, contemplate, Shrotra Vivam Nitidhyasitoyam, such that this Shraddha, which started off as the possibility of admission, becomes nishtha, it becomes firm, it becomes stable in tatparaha, stable in the knowledge of tata. Tata we know Om Tat Saditi Nirdesha. It's another name of Paramatma himself. So one one's mind becomes stable and one's mind becomes fixed, and then that is what will lead us to the acquisition of the right kind of knowledge. And to that, he puts in another condition. He says, Sanyatendriya. He just doesn't say yatendriya. That's not just control of senses. He talks about Sanyatendriya. It's complete control of senses. And beautifully described in Vayustuti. When Trivikrama Pandita Acharya discusses about the qualities of bhakti, when he says, Bhavati cha Bhagavan Urjitam, Nirnimittam, Nirvyajam, Nishchalam, Sat Guna Gana Brahatim. So it's unwavering, unflinching, ever increasing control with this contemplation about the God, meditation into on God is what becomes necessary. And once we have that, Krishna says, immediately you will get Param Shanti. So Shanti has been described previously in 271. Nirmamo nirahankaraha sashanti madigachati. When he's talking about Sita Prajna, he's told us what Shanti means. Shanti there, means moksha. So what does it happen here? Do we get moksha immediately as soon as we get this jnana? No. Perhaps this Shanti becomes Param Shanti when one does experience something, perhaps which is beyond description, something that perhaps only needs to be experienced. The very concept of seeing something non-material is simply unimaginable for us who are stuck in this material world. It is that experience which Krishna tells us, which we will experience immediately while we wait to get to moksha at the right time. Coming to the last three shlokas, then Krishna tells us, yes, all this is fine. What is it that is stopping us from doing this? So that's the question that Krishna tries to address in shloka 40. Ajñascha shraddhadanascha samshayatma vinashyati nayam lokosminaparaha na sukham samshayatmanaha. So three things Krishna points out. One is ajnana. One does not acquire knowledge. One is ashraddha. It's not that one does not acquire knowledge, but one simply refuses to believe or intentionally opposes. But the most significant one perhaps is samshaya, doubt. I don't know. Should I or should I not? Anyway, what's the harm? Let's just do it for the sake of doing it. It's not that I know. So these doubts, and this uses the word samshayatma. So the point being that when these doubts occur, at the level of the mind, these are generally temporary. And one, by acquiring the right knowledge, is able to overcome. If these doubts seep into the intellect level, perhaps it's the quest of a lifetime. But if and when this samshaya gets into the swarupa itself, well, that's the most dangerous one, perhaps. And it's simply, yes, I know all of that, but that's not what I want to do. It is some of the Duryodhana characteristics that will come out. So one needs to be very clear as to be able to deal with the doubts as and when they occur, because doubts will come once one starts progressing in this journey. Yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana samchinna samshayah atmavantam na karmani nibadnanti dhananjaya. And then there again, Krishna is then reassuring once again, these doubts, jnana samchinna samshayah. So these doubts will all disappear. They will all be taken care of once you acquire the right knowledge. So the question then perhaps is, if every single doubt then just disappears, will I become Sarvajna like the Bhagwan himself? No, that's not the point. The point perhaps is that I will understand it to the best of my ability. So Krishna is simply telling us at this point of time, saying that this jnana, knowing that you are totally dependent on your antaryamin, yoga vidanneta. So we know in the yoga also means Paramatma. It's a name of Paramatma himself. So once you offer every karma, once you know that you are dependent, once you offer everything that you do unto me, then with a strong mind, when you contemplate, you will reach a stage where none of the karmas will bind you. And just at the very last verse of this chapter, Krishna says, Tasmada jnana sambhutam hrutstam jnanasinatmanaha chitvainam samshayam yogam atishto tishta bharata. A wonderful verse to conclude the chapter. So what's the primary cause of this ajnana? Krishna says ajnana sambhuta, lack of awareness, lack of wisdom. So what is this lack of awareness of? What is this lack of wisdom about? It is about hrutstam, about oneself, about one's own ontological position in this existence. And how do I get rid of this ajnana? He says that for that you need to use your own knowledge as the sword. We are doing contemplation. Madhuji is talking about aproksha jnana and paroksha jnana in our Upanishad classes, where you sharpen the bow of your mind. Perhaps one can relate to it here when we need to use our own knowledge as the sword, such that we get rid of every single doubt that occurs into us. And where do I find this knowledge? Krishna says you will find it in the very same place where the knowledge resides. So the knowledge is right within yourself. So it is your journey of self-discovery, wherein your perpetual enemy residing within you, samshaya, by the grace of God, can be cut off. So this yoga atishta, this will lead to disappearance of all dilemmas. It will give us the ability to overcome inertia, tentativeness, and therefore uttishta, arise, awake, is what Krishna is telling Arjuna, and be a Bharata, be immersed, be rata in Bhagavanta. So that's the note on which Krishna concludes this chapter. And just to remind ourselves, which we do time and again, is what Yama was telling Nachiketa as well. Uttishto jagrataha, churasya dharaha. Yes, it all seems very beautiful. Just acquire the knowledge, everything is going to be fine. But acquisition of this knowledge is not trivial. It is one needs to tread very carefully. It is like walking on the edge of a sword. With that, Krishna concludes this chapter. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Jnanayogo Nama Chaturtho Dhyayah. Some of the things I did refer to abundance of knowledge and information. Hopefully, didn't distort it too much by my ignorance. Madhuji's lectures, a couple of books that I did refer to, I have listed there. With that, I conclude this part of it and hand it over back to GVG. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Suresh ji. So that was very wonderful, very detailed ones. And we want to kind of preserve this for our own understanding for future. So again, thank you for doing this. So I see that there are some questions. So I kind of request that we will listen to our invited speaker or the guest lecture, and then we will get to the questions, if that is all right. So with that,
sorry, GVG, Suresh, do you want to unshare your slides, please?
yeah, so I can give a rights to. Okay, great. So I want to take this time to kind of introduce our guest lecturer today. So she is Meera Tadipatri ji. So at the end of the third chapter, we had the privilege of listening to Sri Kesava Tadipatri, who is our Gurugula also. And then we've been kind of going to their house for Pata for nearly 20 years. And then actually, even though that we started around like with Kesava ji as the Guru, and then with Srimati Meera ji as a Sahapati at that time, but she very quickly kind of surpassed us in kind of no time, and elevated to the extent of Guru herself in her own rights. So, she is at a far, way advanced compared to the rest of us. And then she's now teaching lessons to various people across the country, and even for people in India and Australia and all those things. So she's engaged in Pata Pravashana pretty much all her time throughout the day. So we have always were very intrigued, and then with her perspectives in our own discussions and then Pata. So I thought the rest of the group will kind of benefit, kind of hearing her perspectives on this one. So then I request Srimati Meera ji to come and kind of share with us her perspectives on this chapter 4. So Meera ji, you have any slides to share? I just want to talk so that.
No slides.
Okay, please go ahead. So the video is coming out good. Your audio is good. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Editam tav bhaktanam asmakam nrihare hare tadashu karyam karyagya pralayarkayita prabha harikatamritasara gurugala karunadinda panit peluve parama bhagavad bhaktaridanaadaradi keluvadu. Thank you, Madhusudanji, for giving me this opportunity. And it was a wonderful sum up by GVG and Sureshji. I'll just give my overall understanding of this chapter, 4th chapter. First, we saw Arjuna giving logical, that's the first chapter. Arjuna giving his own logical reasons for not taking up his Kshatriya Dharma. Second chapter, Krishna, he surrenders to Krishna as a guru, and Krishna gives a comprehensive picture of jnana about the Jiva, Ishvara, Jada. The third chapter, the 43 shlokas, here the jnana prachurya and karma prachurya yogis, their marga, and especially the karma chakra are explained. And towards the end, the guna karma link is established. Guna and karma. Guna karma, that is the triguna, and its effect on our karmas. So there it is mentioned, in the third chapter it is mentioned. It is Rajoguna, the main, even though we know everything, whatever need to be known, upper our karma and everything. The Rajoguna in us, Triguna is there, Rajoguna is there. And also note that the Indriyas are all Rajoguna. Rajoguna Prachuri is there. So the Rajoguna acts upon the Indriyas. It makes the Indriyas as a seat and it controls us. Instead of we controlling, it controls us. That's why it said Kalanemi. It's not a Jada. They said Kalanemi is the controller because Jada cannot control. So Kalanemi, he controls. So what is important? The Kama, the Rajoguna that comes from Rajoguna has to be conquered. For that, what to do? For that, what to do is we cannot control. So we seek those who control this Rajoguna. So the gradation is told towards the end of the third Adhyaya. The gradation is told, and finally it says the complete control, the Swatantra, is Lord Krishna. Lord has the Swatantra. So his jnana. So what is needed to control the Kama that takes you towards dukkha? How to control it? How to do the karma? So you have to surrender to Bhagavanta. To surrender to Bhagavanta, to surrender to anybody, you have to have the jnana about that person. Only when you have the jnana, the surrendering is possible. That is the stage set for the fourth Adhyaya. The stage is set. So the fourth Adhyaya, GVG explained it very well. First 16 shlokas, if we take, it talks about the jnana, the mahatmya, Bhagavad Mahatmya. So here the question comes. By knowing the mahatmya of Bhagavanta, okay, we learned the 16 shlokas with Vyakhyana, everything. So how does it help us to get rid of the kama that is talked on the third Adhyaya? Third Adhyaya it is talked, and fourth Adhyaya is also around 31, 33, it is talked again. How to control the mind and the chitta. It's talked here two places. So how to control this kama? You seek how the Mahatmya is going to help you. So the Mahatmya, here again, the 34th shloka, Tadvidhi Pranipatena Sevaya, the Guru is important. The Guru concept, the Tattvadarshana, the Guru concept is there everywhere you have to, it goes parallelly. Without Guru, nothing happens. So the Guru has to be known. Through the Guru, we have to know it. So when you know it, what happens is, we realize, the realization comes not by just hearing. The realization comes. The realization is that any kama, anything you take, anything, any object, anything you pursue, eventually, not only they are anitya, they are impermanent. Anything, any objects of kama, not only they are impermanent, but they end up in giving dukkha only, not sukha. Our pursuit is towards sukha, not dukkha. So once the realization is come, not only that, along with it is again why Lord Krishna's greatness to be known, the Indra, Chandra, why not? So it is also another thing is, they themselves, their padavi, their adhikara itself is very limited and they are not swatantra. So worship them, thank them, but one has to know the swatantra entity. That is what is mentioned. So once you know the higher one that gives you sukha, that is digested through the Guru, then naturally this kama, you kind of conquer it. You win over it. It's similar, right? You get a new phone, say, new updated phone. You don't look for your old, decade-old phone. You give up. You don't naturally, you lose interest in that. It's a crude analogy. So the bigger one about God has to be told. So the 16 shlokas are geared towards that. So this jnana about Bhagavanta, it's not something new. It has been there. That is how the stage is said. That's how he starts. The jnana has been there always, because it is Bhagavat Vishaya Jnana is what we are talking about. It's always there, and who is to give that? God himself has to give that. That's why it is told. It's told from this current Manvantara, how the jnana came down to us. Even here, when you say Tadvidhi Pranipatena Sevaya Guru, we say that. Even our Laukika Guru, even in him, the Krishna, directly also says, and indirectly, he is as an antaryami in our gurus, in our guru paramparas. He is the one who is giving us the jnana. Not only that, he is the one who is staying in us. You see, in the Upanishads, we hear that. He is in us. He makes us understand. Listening is one thing, understanding and realizing and putting it in action. So he is there. That is the Mahima. That is the Mahima. So that's why in the first 16 sloka, we say the 9th sloka, we say that what is to be known is Janma Karma Chame Divyam. That's why they bring the thought, Janma Karma Chame Divyam. So that's a key. God's Janma. He doesn't have Janma. That's again explained in fifth shloka. It has been explained. He doesn't have Janma. So his appearance is Pradurbhava, we say. Why he did, for what he did, and his karma. God and the karma. How he does it. If we understand that, you understand that Tattvataha GVG has explained it already. So you have to understand it in line with Shastra. That is, what is Shastra? What we need to understand means God's role. God is that is what next it is explained. So the jnana that is talking about is jnana about the Swatantra Vyakti, Bhagavanta, it is talking about. And he gives jnana, there's no prayojana for it. He doesn't have swaprayojana. He is doing it for paraprayojana, to help us all. Why should he do? That's why he says he's the creator. Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam. He does all the creation, everything he does it because he's the father. Chaturvarnyam, basically, another way it is he is the father. He has done all that to you. He doesn't need anything out of it because he's Purna. That concept. He's Swatantra. He's the Purna. That is told. And another key point it is told is the 11th verse. There it is told. That gives us the first surrendering. That is also one of the reasons is ye yatamam prabhadyante. So people, he is doing everything. Everything he is doing it. Every marga, every prerana, he is doing it. So whoever pursues whatever way, pursues different devatas or pursues, you go to Krishna and ask for mundane things. He gives that. But if you surrender himself, knowing you are a Swatantra, he takes care of it. That is what is told. And he says, in the 13th shloka, he says, what is to be known? Kartaram, akartaram api vidhi. He is the karta. He is the Swatantra karta, you have to know. Akartaram means, basically, the karma that he does is not like you and me. We are bound by karmas, whereas all karmas are under his control. That's what. So that's why the 14th shloka is what to know. Namam karmani lippanti, name karma phale spruha. That is so that has to be digested. So okay, we have understood about the greatness, mahatmya of the Lord. So what next? We have got the jnana, whatever we heard, it's not really jnana. We have heard it. So what next? That is what it is relevant to Arjuna and to all of us. You have to do the karma. You have to do your prescribed karma. So next, that's why the next 16th, 18, and 23rd, 6th, the next section is knowing the Mahatmya. It is a direct about God, and indirect, it is about God to the karma. Karma is not akarma, vikarma, karma, akarma, vikarma. It's not these three divisions. It's not knowing that. Of course, you have to know that. The purpose here is again jnana. That is the jnana, the karma swarupa jnana. What is that jnana? Bhagavanta is doing. That's why the meaning is also, when you say karmana, it is split like karmana. So all karmas are created, all karmas manifest because of Paramatma. He is there. He is the Swatantra doer. Karma, even vikarma, akarma, everything He gives the prerana. He does it according to our swabhava and also our past karmas, of course. So that is to be, so that is explained. Karma swarupa jnana, not just the karma, how Bhagavanta is doing as a swatantra. That's why the karma, akarma is also seen like they are the way to see another way is see in sleep a karma. Just when you take the literal meaning, akarma, no karma is happening. I mean, we are not doing anything. We are not protecting anybody there. We are not protecting ourselves, akarma. So in that, even in sleep, Bhagavanta is doing it throughout our wake, sleep and swapna. He is in charge. He creates and does everything. So during wakeful also, he is the doer. He is, that has to be known. He is the swatantra doer. That thing should be ingrained into us. Again here, through the Guru, tadvidhi pranipatena seva, that you have to keep on adding wherever jnana comes, the Guru comes with that. With the Guru, through the Guru, you will learn it. Through the Guru, with the Guru, inside Bhagavanta is there. He only can teach us. So you have to learn to see him. The background should be always there. So once it is digested in you, what you do, what should you do, how to do the karma, your prescribed duty is like, you don't make sankalpa. We make, so sankalpa is not a one-page sankalpa. Vishnu Praraniya, Vishnu Prityartham, to please him. He has given everything to us. So it is to please him. So does he get pleasure? Does he get happiness? No, it's not like that. To give a Laukik example, we give, our parents have given everything. Parents, gurus, they have given everything. What do? We give something little to them, something, some token. It's a token. Oh, from whatever you have given, this body and everything, we could earn this, and a little bit we are giving it to you. It's a kind of a similar one. It's a crude example, but picture is God created everything. So he does everything according to our karma. We are just like a witness. So knowing that what you do is the sankalpa you make, and the desire with desire with which you do the karma. That's what you get said. So the desire and sankalpa, you give up that attachment to the fruit. So that is summarized, the upaya for giving kama sankalpa. So here it comes again, 21st sloka, not 31st. That it says upaya for giving kama sankalpa is again control of mind. You control the mind. That again is told that how to control the mind. So control the mind and the chitta. And next shloka talks about the lakshana of a person, and then the he sums up in the next years what is to be done. This is a key. 23rd shloka we see gata sangasya. Gata sangasya means you don't desire, because you don't have sutantra, you don't desire for the phala abhimana, the result, that abhimana. Muktasya means the abhimana over, I am the doer, etc. That you give us. Jnana avastita chesa. Jnana, what jnana? Bhagavanta, what he does, and the 16 shlokas. The Bhagavanta jnana avastita. Your mind should be in that, about the God's jnana, what he is. Jnana means the concept of God, basically. Chetas means the mind should be in that. With that, yajna acharet, you do. Yajna means here, we are doing, to who, what for, to whom. God has given to me, you are giving. So with that realization, that's why you say yajnaya acharet means the Vishnu said, Vishnu has created everything so that to get out of the samsara cycle. So you have to do, for his sake, you have to say karma acharet, that such karma doesn't bind you. And then the next section is examples are given, like about 12 examples. GVG went through all that. So various types of karma, that's why nishkamana. So what we had is by the knowledge of God, like 16th, or even you can include 18 also. Up to that, you got the jnana, Bhagavat jnana, that has destroyed you the bad karma, kalanemi. That influence is gone. More or less, it is gone. The next is you do the karma. So the karma has to be done. Karma has to be, when the kama is gone, nishkama, that kama is gone. Nishkama means with the God, submitting to God. So without expecting anything, without expecting, not having sneha with the phala, because they are all temporary, they lead you to dukkha only. So you go for it. So pleasing God, so surrendering to God. So how it is done? The Brahmarpanam Brahmahavit. So that is the 7 steps. That 7, you apply to everything you do. You don't, it's not rich, poor thing. Everything happens in your body itself. The Jnanendriya, the Karmendriya, the Prana, the Pranayama, eating, all the karmas. So everything is happening right here. So this sadhana, no excuse. It can be done anywhere and everywhere. This nishkama karma. You can do it and you have opportunity. You can do. Physically, you can do it. So this is what is told, and the divisions are told, and then the conclusion is this is what he is bringing it. So okay, it is all yajnas. Jnana yajna is shrestha. So if jnana yajna is shrestha, what I will do is I'll do meditation. I'll start hearing. I won't do yuddha. Then it is said, Tan sarvan karmajan, with everything is karma. Everything is karma. So Yuddha is your prescribed duty. You have to do karma yogi, you have to karma prachur yogi, you have to do yuddha. Same thing, our varnashrama dharma, we have to do it. No matter how imperfect, one has to do it. So here's a Brahmane. So Brahmane means Sarvato Mukha. God is not putting in his mouth. God is that jnana, Sarvagata jnana. The chakra, we saw that. Sarvagata jnana. You have to have. Then wherever you do, whatever you do, you think of God, it is only in Bhagavanta's mukha only. It goes into him. So you do the karma. Karma is stored, and then Sureshji very nicely explained about the jnana shrestha, and how it is done, how to earn this jnana, tadviti pranipatena. That is what tattvadarshina jnanina pranipatena sevaya pariprashnena te jnana upadeshyanti. That is not only for Arjuna, for all of us it is there. So with that, you can get rid of the karmas do not bind you, and the jnana is powerful because jnana can destroy the, like a sword, like a sharp sword. It can destroy the deep buried, not only in this janma, from aneka janma, whatever is buried, the ajnana about the ignorance about God, ignorance about jiva, it can destroy it. And thus it concludes, and it has to be done. That's why this jnanopaya has to be done. That's how he ends it, and Krishna Arpanamastu.
Okay, thank you, Meeraji. So it was wonderful. And I always kind of get excited when you share your perspectives. So there's always something new for me to take every time when I hear from you. So thank you so much. And then I enjoyed it. I'm sure that kind of the rest of the group also enjoyed it. So again, thank you for kind of putting yourself, your time and maybe some effort towards sharing your views. Thank you so much. So
thank you, and
Sureshji,
it's very, it's wonderful. It's wonderful, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. Thank you.
So, Srimati Meera, Tadipatri, Kesava, Tadipatri ji, wonderful expert seminar. Thank you so much, and we are indeed very fortunate that you were able to find some time and you sat through the first 1 hour and you were able to spend a good 1.5 hours with us. So, thank you so much for sharing your immense knowledge. So, what we thought GVG will do is we'll briefly open up for Q&A sessions. We got a few questions that are there in the chat box. Okay. And we will, maybe what I'll do is I'll call upon folks to come up and then ask the question, and we will direct it to all the speakers and Srimati Meera ji as well to share her thoughts on those questions. So first, can I pick up Harish ji? Harish, do you want to go for the question, please?
Oh, thank you. So, wonderful lecture. I just had one question based on the segment that Sureshji covered, where we talked about acquired knowledge versus experienced knowledge. And I was trying to understand if it is necessarily sequential. Can you do one without the other? And how do you explain, how mistakes, that may not have gone through all the scriptures, but still are able to, acquire some form of divine knowledge, right? So that's, where I was. First, it's really to understand if they are distinct and sequential. Thank you.
Meera ji, do you want to take that up, and then we'll get Suresh and GV to also contribute? Yeah.
Yes, experiential knowledge, anubhava jnana, we say, that is the most important. And just to give a very crude example, you describe a mango. You can describe it. We will know how it looks, what it is, everything you know about mango. You can recognize the mango. But just give it to him and ask him to taste it. He knows what the mango is. That is the experiential knowledge. The experiential knowledge we may not have with aproksha jnana and all the high end, but at our own levels, in our own life, as you get with experience, God gives various experience. And also we observe people, we observe the sick people, we observe the beggars, we observe the rich people, everything we observe. When we observe, they also teach us. We have to observe everything. When we learn from that, we learn, we think about it. So the experiential knowledge is very important. And to your another question, how about some of the jnanis who never had this? They never had gurus and they never had, but they have it. How is it possible? Means one thing, not in every case, not in every gurus, but in some, they would have had it in their previous, they would have earned it in their previous births. So Krishna says that, right? It continues. In very rare cases, we cannot take every case like that, but Laukika, we say, first of all, we ask, who is your guru? There should be a guru parampara. In general, that's how we see, that's how the jnana comes, and you have to do the manana, and you have to recollect, and I should have gone through some of it at least. That's my take on that.
Thank you, Meera ji. Suresh and GV, anything to add to that?
No, Madhuji, I think it's very, very nicely put across by Meera ji. I mean, just like my anatomy professor used to say, the eyes see only what the mind knows. And so we were supposed to come prepared to get into the dissection hall. So fundamentally, yes, I mean, I think I'll be repeating. It was very nicely put forward by Meera ji.
Thank you very much. I have a related question. I put it on the chat box, so I want all of you to share your thoughts on this. How to identify a guru? How to identify a guru who is an aparoksha jnani in the modern world? Should we just stick to our great ancient acharyas, Srimad Acharya and his immediate disciples, and so on as our gurus? How do we select a guru who is an aparoksha jnani? There are all sorts of fake gurus all around us, not just here, but everywhere. So how do you choose this one is a question. So maybe we just need to stick to Sarva Mula Grantha and consider our guru and then go. Or how do we approach this? Meera ji, first to you.
There's no way to know whether there are aproksha jnanis around us or in this university, I mean, in this place where we live. So don't even bother knowing about it, because to identify an aproksha jnani, you should be an aproksha jnani. Otherwise, how can you, just for a first grader, if you are a first grader, you cannot know what is higher up. You can know the kindergarten. Same is the situation here. So what we do is, the way we think about it is, depending on our karma, depending on our svabhava, and depending on a kala, the Lord sends the guru. He may be a laukika guru to you. He puts the connection. He brings the connection. He always brings. Just trust that and go. And just don't keep your eyes closed. Just see. It is not his teaching, his lectures. Be close to him, not just one day, not in one function. Stay with him. That's why the guru is always from your initially. The initial guru will be from your area, because you are observing. He is an armchair philosopher, or he is really doing it. How he is treating. He is treating you very well, whereas a poor beggar, he is very condescending. So there is you observe the Guru, that is there in Brahma Sutra also said, you observe the Guru. Guru Shishya relationship is the Guru has to accept Shishya has to accept Guru. Pariprashnena. So you can ask any questions. You find out about him, everything. So God will take care of it. So we don't have to go in such. Of course, we have to keep our eyes, common sense. We have to keep our eyes and everything open and receive and see from time to time. If the Guru doesn't meet your needs, then leave the Guru and go for another Guru. That's always there. So that's my understanding.
Wonderful, Meera ji. Thank you very much. Anand Kulkarni, you had a question. Do you want to come, please?
I may care.
GVG, go for it. Yeah, please. Yeah.
So I just want to say that when Krishna says that talks about when Arjuna asked Krishna, right, how do I identify this Sthita Prajna or this Aproksha Jnani, right? Sthita Prajna Saka Bhasha, Samadhistasya Kesavaha, Kimasita, Kambrajeta, right? And all those things. So when Arjuna had asked, and then Krishna had responded after that in like so many verses, about 10, 12 verses, about that one, about detailing about the characteristics of this Sthita Prajna or Aproksha Jnani. So that gives us a guide too, right? If Krishna had said that here is what it is, so it is for a prayojana, meaning it is there as a guidebook for us. So we can use that to really identify, but it will take some time, right? It's not that by casual interaction with over an hour of Q&A or whatever that we would really know about those people. So it has to be like over in a long-term interaction to Sevaya, Pariprashnena, about through those process. Then we would know whether the Guru is a fake one, like what you said, or there is really something substantial in them. As long as we may not get Aproksha Jnana out of that Guru, but at least we get one part of Jnana that takes us to the next step. It was worth it. Okay, so it is. So we have to use that filters that Krishna has said, and then put that one against the person that we come across. Keep checking, right? And that way, if it is, we would know whether it's going to take us to the desired path or not. So that's kind of my 2 cents.
Thank you, GVG. I may also add in my own biased view on this. So that was Jnaninaha Tattva Darshinaha, it said. So I would say Tattvavada Darshinaha is Jnaninaha is the root, is how I would say from a very biased view. But that's how I look at the Tattva Darshinaha as Tattvavada Darshinaha. Anyway, yeah. Thank you. Sai ji, I'll come to you in a minute. We got Anand Kulkarni ji posting a question. Anand.
Thank you, Srimati Meera ji, GVG and Suresh ji for imparting the wisdom today. It was extremely clear that the jnana will burn off all the karmic imprints, and it was a very powerful message. But in the verse 36, it's very difficult to digest that if a person has committed the heinous crimes, and if he catches a boat, or if that person catches the boat of jnana, all his sins will be vanquished. That is a bit difficult to digest that. I need to know more about that. How is that possible? Is it not dependent upon the swabhava of the person? Or can such a person even make it to the boat of the jnana?
Suresh, since you covered it, you want to take it first? I will go in afterwards. After you.
Sure. Okay, I'll try. Fair question, Anandji, first of all. I mean, in the sense, why bother, right? I'll do what comes to my mind, and if and when I find that boat, I'll get to the other way, or so be it. Could be a very defeatist kind of a philosophy, which could, easily be interpreted as. But I think the context here is that 2 things. One is he's telling Arjuna. Arjuna is a sattvika jiva. It's not just any other person. So it is this person who is inherently capable of attaining moksha. These are the moksha jivis. It's not that Duryodhana is ever going to find this boat, no matter what he does or does not do. So it's basically, it is, no, Krishna is making a point here. If you are this Sattvika Jiva, if you have realized the importance of this jnana and you have acquired it, let's assume for an instance that you are, you've done the worst of the crimes, maybe in the process to it, somewhere in the past. Ajamela comes as a very classical example of it. It's an Aproksha Jnani who's spent maybe 80 years of his life just loafing around in jungle doing unimaginable things. But it's just that reminder of this jnana which was inherent in him, because he was fundamentally a Sattvika Jiva himself, was a Aproksha Jnani himself. This trigger, this small kindle of fire, just enlightened and burnt away the ignorance and took him towards the path of liberation. That's how I would interpret it, but there are more experienced and more learned people around. I'll just pass it on and learn more on this. Thank you.
It's fair to assume that that particular shloka, verse 36, is applicable to Mukti Yogya, which GVG was showing us in one of those slides, and not to all the others.
Thanks, Anandji.
And
Meera,
also,
if you would like to add and GP as well, please. Thanks.
because the subsequent sloka clearly says, that's why it is Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. So only if you have the right Shraddha, you will get the jnana. You will get to the boat only with the proper Shraddha. So without that, there is no question of even getting the boat.
Thank you.
Anything more to add, Meera ji?
No, just what GVG has said, the prior shloka, you take it. And also says, you means people like Arjuna, jnana adhikari. That's what, if you think like that, that's how he says. So the qualities are needed to get that jnana, the qualities are there, the intrinsic qualities are needed.
Thank you. Sai ji, do you want to come on, switch on your video and ask the question, please?
No, sir, my video is not working. Camera's broken, it seems. Can I still continue, sir?
Sure, go for it. Go for it, Sai. Go for it.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Thank you for this wonderful session. My thing is, this doctrine of doership. How do I apply in a situation like this, where now there is no scarcity of people who want to try to pollute and be it in society or mostly in workplace. So when they try to, whatever it is, when they try to put you down or when they try to, hinder your process, how do I apply this concept of doctrine of doership, or should I take it as God itself is? It is only God's action. So okay, I'll accept whatever it comes, whatever bad effect it gives me, I still accept it and I move on. Whatever is in my hand, whatever I lose, I lose. Or how should I? What should be my outlook be, sir? How should it be, sir?
Thank you very much, Sai, for that very practical question. I will post it to the experts here. Meera ji and GB and Suresh, do you want to pick it up in that order, please?
Yes, the question is what we should do, how we should react when such situation comes. Basically, it depends on your position there. Say, for example, if you are a father or if you are a teacher, you have every right to correct them. You cannot just take it, oh, it's my karma, God has given that, I will follow. No, that is again swadharma. That dharma, if you are a father, one thing. If you are a teacher, another thing. You are sahapati, you work in a place. If you have the position like a manager or something, you also judge the people. What the consequences, you can see that and act accordingly. They say that, right? So you cannot go against the so many things that you don't like in a management. But there are things which you can do. So depends on your adhikara there, you do it. And in the end, the sadhana is very internal. Nobody can stop what you think, what you do for your form of worship. And learning to ignore, that is another thing. So you try your best. If you are a father, if you are a guru, if you are a manager, you try according to the situation. Basically, common sense comes in handy. So you do it. And if it doesn't work, just take it. You have done your duty. You have done your duty.
Okay.
And the result,
Okay.
you take it, it doesn't stick to you.
Karmanyavadi Karaste.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. Then one silly question, ma'am. What does Bhuloka refer to, ma'am? Bhuloka refers to Earth or the entire universe, ma'am?
It depends on the context where you see the word bhuloka. Generally, what we say is the earth that we see. Beyond the earth, we don't even see that. So we take the earth.
Yes, ma'am.
And in Purana and other things, it says even the unseen landmass. You see, the unseen landmass are enormous. It doesn't come into our radar, so we don't know that. So again, the bhuloka comes in the context, in what
Okay.
context it is said.
Okay, so Swarga Loka and Bhuvar Loka are in the universe itself, or apart from, or away from the universe, different from the
Everything is
universe.
in your universe. Everything is in this universe only. So Bhuloka
Okay,
is the bhumi where we stay, have this kind of a body where we have hands, mouth, eat, and do more of Parthiva Loka, more of the earthen particles where we can see it. Bhuloka is a little subtler. You can't see it. The Suvarloka, it is there in the universe, but still you cannot see it. It is so subtle. It's so subtle, it doesn't come to your perception.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Maybe I can add to that first question about.
Yeah, please go ahead and
yes, sir.
So I think
yes,
just my perspective is on that one. That's another kind of a very good question, loaded question, and then applies to all of them. So even though we have said, hey, it is a God is a primary mover, he is a bimba, and then we were all going to go with it and everything, easy to say. And then maybe like once the act is done, you could probably kind of see that hand of God or whatever in other ones and everything. But then if an act has not even taken place and then we are in a situation, what do we do? So at that time, like I wish that there is this God who is approachable, and then we could ask him, hey, what to do, and then he tells us, and then we go and do it, right? And then he said, that is my wish, and then I'm going to do it. It doesn't happen that way in an actual world, right? In that way. So then how do we go about doing that without knowing what God's mind is or what God's prana is or whatever, right?
Yes.
So in that respect, that is why Krishna later says, Tasmat Sastram Pramanante Karya Akaryo Vyavasthitam. So, but then in space of God's mind, that is where a Sastra is there. So the Sastra tells us the do's and don'ts. They provide us the reference book or the guidebook. And then that is what we learn from our gurus and everything. So through that, you apply that for anything and everything, whether, hey, is this the right way? That where we are hurting nobody and everything, is this the dharmic way of doing that one? Then you stick to that and then do that. Over time, when we keep on doing that, we will understand the God behind that one, doing that one and all of that. So that would be my take on that one.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, GVG. So let's move on to the next and the last question for today. So Shrikant Ji, do you want to come on video and ask your question?
Yes, sir. Hare Namaha. Thank you, Madhuji. And thanks to all of you. I'm learning something every day. My sincere pranams to all of you. Now, I'm not going to read the question as posed, but I'll tee off of some of the slides that was provided. My question is trying to learn from all of the experiences and all of the concepts and philosophies explained in this chapter and many, many more chapters. We as human species have created a lot of Adi Daivik, Adi Bhautik, and Adhyatmik troubles to a lot of people, knowingly or unknowingly. So now teeing off of Sureshji's 4-quadrant slide, knowing and doing is what we think we are doing, but we may end up doing without knowing. So instead of something good happening by your action, we may do something out of ignorance, which may backfire and make your karma even worse. So here again, there may not be a definitive action. What I'm referring to here is the example quoted by Swamiji. You do something and that those funds, or for lack of a better example, is being misappropriated. Now let's take a really raw example, which now a Jewish lobby approaches me and says, donate here. The other lobby says, they donate here because I am to defend my people. And if I donate to one side or the other and they buy a bomb and drop it on somebody's head, then I get the papa for that. So that's a raw example, extreme example. We are talking war and peace. It's like supporting Duryodhana versus I don't know who is Duryodhana and who's Pandava. So that is my situation. And same thing in India. We spent nearly a year over there. There's abject poverty. I mean, and here again, which cause to support? And I can see that sometimes the poverty makes you cry. So I don't know if anybody can answer this question, but it's a practical dilemma. If anybody can give any kind of jnana or guidance, I'd appreciate it.
So, Shrikant ji, the way I understand your question is you want the right perspective in which dana should be done, and what is Krishna's message in chapter 4? Is that how I see it? So,
That's exactly the way I'm proposing it. Thank you for paraphrasing it.
Thank you very much. So, let's go to Suresh first, and then Meera ji and GV ji.
I will make an attempt. Thanks. So the question is, there are two things, right? One is, I am faced with a dilemma. That's how I'm understanding it. I have a choice to make, and I really don't know which one should I be picking, or should I be picking one at all? Should I just abstain from donating, or should I pick one of the two to donate, or should I just give equally to both of them? So therefore, I am neutral. So that's the way I was at least imbibing the question. Couple of things at least that comes to my mind is that I cannot run away from acting. I think that's the first message that Krishna is telling us very clearly. That if there is an action that we are bound to be doing, it's our prescribed dharma, we have to act. And we have to, it's not just I act for the sake of acting. We'll have to act with enthusiasm, owning complete responsibility and accountability for the actions that we take. Now, as to whether the actions that we take are in the larger context for the greater good, or are they, actually against the will of the God? So there Krishna has very clearly stated that, even kavis, even people who have understood the exact meaning of every single word that is ever spoken of, they get confused between what is the right thing to be doing and what is not necessarily the right thing. So first and foremost, we need to accept the fact that I am doing it to the best of my ability, to the best of my own understanding, which I have at this point of time, and my intention should be right, such that this action takes me towards Bhagavanta and not away from Bhagavanta. It's my own journey, end of the day. Fine, it may be inappropriate, my knowledge may be incomplete, but if I'm willing to learn, if I'm willing to make continued progress and improve, and I guess that is the journey towards which Krishna is prompting us. That's the way at least I would understand it, but I would love to hear more thoughts on this. Thank you.
Yeah, what I feel is the place we are right now, Krishna has put it, our karma has put us in a particular place. So there, in our own house, it starts from our own house. What we should do, having born as a human being, our first responsibility is Nana Janasya Seva Sushusha. It's very clear. So God has given us the brain. So try to analyze how you can help the community, your own family, the community you live in as a Manusha. Manusha Janma, we have gotten it. So do it. What is needed? Samaja Seva. Okay, you have to do. Without it, you don't have adhikara for other things. So discharge your human responsibility. If somebody is hungry in your neighborhood, right in your house, take care of them first. Not in some Korea or somewhere. There you can do it. Start right at home. Do that as a Manushya. Then he has given you another also, some kartavyas. You can say Brahmana, you can say Vaishnava, whatever. He has put you in certain things. There is a reason for that. So what it helps, donation is not just a check. Kaya, Vacha, Manasa. 3 ways you can do it, so that even a poor man can do it. Abhayadana, even yatīs do it. So you do what God has given you as a manushya, and then as a intelligent person or whatever, or in your workplace as a Brahmana, as a Vaishnava. So you do that in that order. We cannot solve all the world's problem. We are common man. We are not Arjuna. So what lies? So even when you investigate before giving, there is a limit for everything. You cannot trace where it is going to finally end. It's impossible. Just do your research in a reasonable way, and you give it.
Thank you, Meeraji. One small thing, if I could introduce Krishna in the later chapters, I said Yajna, Dana, Tapaha, Karma. So karma means these three. And for dana, he has very specifically said, don't simply write a check because somebody asked you. Give the check to the right person at the right place and to the deserving. And that is something that we will have to make a judgment based on what Krishna has told us, is what I was going to say. GVG, you have anything to add on this?
Yeah. So it is basically comes to dana patra, right? Who is going to receive the dana? Because we may have the right intention of doing that dana, because yeah, that's yajyam, right? We should not give up that one. But then but we still have the responsibility of finding the appropriate dana patra. It has to go into the right hands, right? So when it comes to, like Meera said, when somebody is kind of, is going to be dying because of lack of food or some medicine or what, those things, at that time, don't be looking for whether that person is a yogyata of accepting our dana, right? His life is in danger. At that time, don't be looking for dana patra. Do whatever is needed, right? So that that person may survive and everything. So at that time, but like, for example, like he kind of talked about somebody else. So, you may be, if we have to contribute to a charitable organization at that time where there is no question of this obvious death or any calamities or whatever. So then at that time, we need to be kind of doing our own research, like what Srimati Meera ji pointed out, really find out, hey, how have they kind of spent the money before, right? And then do some research and everything, and then pick whether you want to do it right, especially when you are kind of dealing with cash. At that time, the dana patra becomes more important. When somebody is struggling hard, jnana jana shishrusha, yes, no question of asking whether that is a dana patra or not. Go and do the immediate help. So that would be the kind of guidance with which we were to go about it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate your perspective.
So we have a very last question. Sorry if you have 3 minutes. Prakash ji has been raising his hands for some time. So Prakash ji, do you want to come on board? And
No, I'm not going to give any my opinions here, but I just want to go back to Suresh ji's slide. It said Jiva also is not a doer. So I think he meant the opposite, but when he wrote it otherwise. Just want to clarify that, because I think it should be Jiva also is a doer. I don't know. You had to go back to the slide.
Suresh ji, that's specifically for you.
Yeah,
I think it's like Jiva Karta.
Which shloka was that, Prakash ji? Maybe I made a mistake. That's
I mean, it's a very good question. I don't remember the shloka, but probably it's towards the 3rd or 4th slide in your series.
If you can just help me, I'm just trying to scroll.
If you can put the slides on the screen, I can
share the slides.
So I think Prakash ji, what you're saying is Jiva is also a doer, is what it has to say. Jiva is, I think Suresh ji had Jiva is not a doer.
Jiva also is not a doer. I think it should mean the opposite. Let me show you that. No.
Just say stop.
No, you have to. This is first slide, right?
I was going the other way around.
Yeah.
You passed that.
Our Bimba Pratibimba slide.
Okay.
Yeah, it's also a non-doer. That it should be Jiva also is a doer.
Is also a doer, is also a non-doer. I guess you could look at it from both the ways. I see where you're coming from. Jiva is, this is Naham Karta, Hari Karta. I think that's where this, it's talking about the Bimba Pratibimba Rupa here, wherein the Bimba has to act for the Pratibimba to be doing anything at all. So I guess it's from that context. When the Bimba does, the Pratibimba also does. So therefore, Jiva is also a doer. But without the Pratibimba doing, without the Bimba doing, the Pratibimba perhaps is incapable of doing any action and therefore is a non-doer, is how.
Yeah, right. But I understand where you're coming from. But in that case, you should say as Jiva is a non-doer. It's also a non-doer if you say that the Bimba itself is not doing that. That's where I'm going.
So, sorry, Sureshji, I'm going to.
Understood.
I'll defend you on this. I think there were three figures in this slide, if I remember. On the left side, Jiva is a doer. Then on the right side, Jiva is also a non-doer. And the reconciliation there is a Jiva is a dependent doer was the third reconciliation in that slide, if I remember. So if in that prakarana, it seems fine. But yeah, thank you very much for that very interesting conversation. So yeah, on that note, Sureshji, do you want to do the vote of thanks, please?
Yeah, so thank you. But before we do that, I think we just need another couple of minutes more. It's been wonderful over the last 3 sessions contemplating about chapter 4. And next month, we will be getting into chapter 5. And Neetaji will be leading the discussion on chapter 5. And the request for Neetaji to just introduce the topic very briefly and as to what we need to look forward to. So over to you, Neetaji.
Hari Om, Shri Krishna Namaha. Thank you for a wonderful discussion. I think excellent. I don't know how 2 hours have gone. So, but very quickly, I just want to say, yes, next time we will be, that is 20th of October, we are aiming. We'll discuss Karma Sannyas. I think it was beautiful discussion about Naham Karta, Hari Karta. So Naham Swatantra Karta. So this, we will take that on a little bit more in this chapter. Talk about action and renunciation and action. What is sannyasa? What is karma yoga? Very interesting question by Arjuna. To Shri Krishna that everything. He was a bit confused. Means we are confused as to what is the best. So he describes further about karma. So 2 parts about karma here. Don't get confused with jnana and karma difference. It's the 2 parts of karma. And again, talking about Hari Karta, Jiva Kartrutvavada. We'll talk about equanimity. There are some very key shlokas. So I would really urge everyone to do some research on this. Some of the key shlokas like Brahmanyadhyaya Karmani, Sangam Tyaktva Karotiya. So that one, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Brahmane Gavi Hastini. So we've got excellent speakers. We will try and keep it simple. We'll try and finish it in 1 session. So please, if you can make it interactive, that would be wonderful. So with that, I will say please all attend. So thank you very much for this opportunity. And I would like to thank Meera ji for an excellent session today. Thank you.
Thanks, Neetaji. So with that, we are heading towards the end of today's session. GVG, thank you for leading the discussion through chapter 4 and more so, making it available to be able to listen to Meera ji today and her thoughts today. So thank you. Thanks to everybody. We've exceeded time, which we keep doing, but try to keep and restrict ourselves to the time allotted. But I think there's some very interesting thoughts and discussions today. So thanks, Madhuji.
Suresh, you want to say Om and close today's session?
Yeah. So we could just close the session with Om. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu.
So thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you all.
So we'll carry on with the Upanishad Chintana next Sunday. So look forward to the next beautiful verse, Ara Iva Ratanabi. So we'll do that particular verse next Sunday. So see you all. Take care. And thank you everyone for investing your 2 hours today evening, which was well worth spending and lots of information. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.